When the mind is enslaved by the opinions of others, peace becomes a fleeting illusion. In a world where words are flung carelessly and judgments abound, many allow their spirits to be disturbed, their joy stolen by the fleeting thoughts of others. Yet to the Stoic, this disturbance is unnecessary, born of misplaced attention and misunderstanding of what truly lies within our power. The Stoic way teaches us that we are not to be shaken by the external noise of the world for our worth and moral. For our worth is not determined by the whims of others, but by our own reasoned judgment and virtuous conduct. In this discourse, we shall explore the timeless Stoic principle that frees the soul from the chains of personal offense. We will unravel the reasons why we take things personally and how the Stoic philosophy, through its unyielding focus on inner strength and mastery, equips us to rise above. For to live unbothered by trivialities, to stand firm in the face of insult, and to remain anchored in truth is to live as a Stoic, unshaken, serene, and free. 2. The core of taking things personally. To understand why we take things personally, we must first examine the root of this reaction. Taking something personally is not about the event itself, but about our interpretation of the event. It is a collision between our perception and our ego. When someone offers criticism, dismisses our ideas, or insults us, we instinctively view it as a direct assault on our character, our worth, or our competence. But this response is neither inevitable nor rational. It is a choice driven by our attachment to external validation and our fear of being seen as lesser in the eyes of others. Stoicism teaches us that the opinions of others do not define us. Epictetus reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When we take something personally, we hand over control of our inner peace to forces beyond us. This reaction is rooted in the mistaken belief that external events have the power to diminish our worth. Yet, in truth, our value as individuals is derived from our character, our virtues, and our reasoned actions, not from the fleeting and often misguided judgments of others. The core issue lies in our over-reliance on external validation. We crave approval and fear rejection. This is natural, but it is also dangerous, for it makes us vulnerable to manipulation and emotional turmoil. A Stoic recognizes that this craving is a weakness to be overcome. The words of Marcus Aurelius echo here: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By internalizing this wisdom, we reclaim our strength and detach ourselves from the need to be validated by others. Moreover, taking things personally often stems from a misunderstanding of the intentions of others. Human beings are complex and flawed. Sometimes an insult is not about us at all, but about the struggles, insecurities, or ignorance of the person delivering it. The Stoic approach encourages us to rise above the immediate sting and see the broader picture. If someone speaks harshly, it may reflect more about their state of mind than our character. Why then should we allow their words to penetrate our peace? To stop taking things personally, we must first cultivate self-awareness. When an insult or criticism arises, do not react in haste. Examine the source of your discomfort. Ask yourself, is this truly about me, or is it about them? Does this opinion hold weight in the grand scheme of my life? More often than not, you will find that the answer is no. The opinions of others are transient and often uninformed. In the end, the core of taking things personally is a matter of misplaced control and misaligned focus. By turning our attention inward, by nurturing our own character and adhering to our own standards of virtue, we render ourselves immune to the trivial provocations of the outside world. In this, we find the first step toward lasting peace. 3. Understanding the power of perception. Perception is the lens through which we interpret the world. It is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our view of those events. This is a foundational Stoic principle, one that calls us to examine how much of our suffering is self-inflicted through the judgments we attach to external occurrences. To master perception is to master the way we experience life. Consider this: two individuals may face the same criticism. One walks away wounded, replaying the words in their mind, questioning their worth. The other acknowledges the words but remains unmoved, seeing them as neither a reflection of their character nor a matter of concern. What separates these two responses? Perception. The first individual views the criticism as a personal attack, assigning it a power it does not possess. The second views it through the lens of reason, recognizing it as another person's opinion, devoid of any real impact on their inner self. Epictetus reminds us men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. This insight directs us to the heart of the matter. Our power lies not in controlling what others say or do, but in controlling how we interpret and respond to it. The world is filled with countless events beyond our control, yet the one domain where our power is absolute is within our own mind. Let us explore the power of perception through a practical example. Imagine you are walking down a street and a stranger makes a disparaging comment about your appearance. You have two choices. The first is to take the comment personally, allowing it to fester, replaying it in your mind and letting it darken your mood. The second choice, the Stoic choice, is to pause and reflect: is this stranger's opinion relevant to my life? Does their comment change who I am? When viewed through reason, the comment loses its sting, becoming nothing more than noise. Shifting perception is not about ignoring reality, but about seeing it clearly. The Stoics did not advocate for blind optimism or denial of hardship. Instead, they called for clarity, seeing things as they are without the emotional distortion we often impose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This revocation of harmful perception is the gateway to freedom. Another key element in understanding perception is the role of assumptions. We often assume the intentions behind others' words or actions, projecting our fears and insecurities onto situations. If a colleague offers criticism, we may assume it is out of malice or disrespect. Yet, how often are these assumptions accurate? A Stoic leader understands that assumptions cloud judgment. Instead of assuming, seek clarity. Ask yourself, what facts do I truly have? Am I reacting to what was said, or to my interpretation of it? By mastering perception, we regain control over our emotional responses. This does not mean we become indifferent to life's events, but that we respond with wisdom rather than impulsiveness. The power of perception transforms how we engage with the world. It allows us to filter out unnecessary noise, to focus on what truly matters, and to maintain our composure in the face of adversity. In the end, perception shapes reality. If we perceive ourselves as victims of external forces, we live in turmoil. But if we perceive ourselves as masters of our inner world, we live in strength. The Stoic path demands that we sharpen our perception, for it is through this mastery that we find not only resilience, but true freedom. 4. Detachment from external opinions. To free ourselves from the burden of taking things personally, we must learn the art of detachment from external opinions. This does not mean we disregard what others say or live in isolation from society, but that we place their judgments in proper perspective. A Stoic knows that the value of their life is not determined by the shifting tides of public opinion, but by their own adherence to reason, virtue, and integrity. When we attach our self-worth to the opinions of others, we become prisoners of their praise and condemnation. If they speak well of us, we feel elevated. If they speak poorly, we are cast down. In both cases, we surrender our peace to forces beyond our control. This attachment makes us vulnerable, reactive, and emotionally unstable. The Stoic solution is to detach not from people, but from the weight we give to their judgments. Epictetus offers a clear reminder: if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. This is not an encouragement to seek ignorance, but a challenge to our desire for approval. The need to be seen as wise, competent, or admirable often leads us to compromise our principles. We alter our behavior, soften our convictions, and mask our true selves to fit the mold others impose. Yet, by detaching from their opinions, we reclaim our authenticity. We live not to please the crowd, but to uphold what is right. Detachment requires a shift in focus from external to internal. Instead of asking, "What do others think of me?" ask, "Am I living according to my values?" This shift is liberating. When your measure of success is based on your own virtue, you become immune to the highs and lows of public perception. Praise becomes pleasant but unnecessary, and criticism becomes information, not an injury. Consider the analogy of a ship navigating through stormy seas. The ship's captain cannot control the wind or the waves, but they can control how they steer. Similarly, we cannot control the opinions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. A Stoic detaches from the storm of external judgment and focuses on steering their own course, guided by reason and virtue. This detachment also involves recognizing the limits of human judgment. People form opinions based on incomplete information, biases, and personal experiences. Rarely are their judgments a true reflection of reality. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. When we internalize this wisdom, we stop giving undue importance to others' perceptions. We see them for what they are, mere opinions, not defining truths. Moreover, detachment fosters resilience. When you are no longer swayed by every compliment or insult, you become grounded. Your sense of self remains intact, unaffected by external turbulence. This resilience allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength, not insecurity. You can listen to feedback without defensiveness, consider criticism without despair, and navigate conflict without losing your composure. Detachment from external opinions is not a rejection of community or feedback. It is a commitment to self-mastery. It is the understanding that while others may offer their views, only you hold the power to determine your response. By detaching from their judgments, you free yourself to live authentically, with clarity and purpose. In the end, detachment is the key to inner freedom. When you no longer seek validation from others, you find it within yourself. You walk through life with confidence, unshaken by the fleeting voices of approval or disapproval. This is the strength of the Stoic, firm, calm, and independent, a master of their own mind and destiny. 5. The dichotomy of control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the concept known as the dichotomy of control. It is the understanding that life is divided into two distinct categories: what is within our control and what is not. To master this principle is to liberate oneself from unnecessary suffering, for much of our distress arises when we attempt to control the uncontrollable or surrender our peace to things beyond our influence. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, presents this fundamental truth: some things are up to us and some things are not. Our thoughts, actions, and choices, these are within our control. The opinions of others, the outcomes of events, and the behavior of those around us, these lie beyond it. Recognizing this distinction is the first step towards serenity, for it allows us to direct our energy where it can be most effective and let go of what we cannot change. When we take things personally, we often blur this line. We react to insults, criticisms, or setbacks as though they are personal failures, as though we have the power to dictate how others perceive us or how events unfold. This misplaced focus leads to frustration and emotional turmoil. The Stoic approach is to step back and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, the logical response is to release it from your concern. Consider how much time and energy are wasted on matters outside our control. We dwell on what others think of us, replaying their words and attempting to reshape their perceptions. Yet their opinions are shaped by countless factors, many of which have nothing to do with us. By trying to control these external judgments, we entangle ourselves in an unwinnable struggle. Instead, the Stoic chooses to focus inward, refining their character, actions, and responses, knowing that these are the true measures of a virtuous life. The dichotomy of control also extends to events and outcomes. We often believe that our happiness depends on external circumstances, whether we succeed in our career, maintain harmonious relationships, or avoid misfortune. But Stoicism teaches us that while we can influence these areas through our efforts, the final outcome is never entirely ours to command. We can prepare thoroughly, act wisely, and pursue our goals with diligence, yet unforeseen factors may intervene. By understanding this, we learn to detach our well-being from outcomes and instead anchor it in our own virtuous conduct. This perspective transforms how we navigate adversity. When faced with criticism, a Stoic reflects, is this critique something I can learn from? If yes, they take the feedback as an opportunity for growth. If no, they recognize that it is merely noise, unrelated to their true worth. In both cases, their peace remains intact because their focus is on what they can control their response, not the judgment itself. The dichotomy of control also cultivates resilience. By accepting what is beyond our influence, we stop wasting energy on resistance and instead channel it into constructive action. Marcus Aurelius encapsulates this in his Meditations: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This realization empowers us to endure hardship with composure, to face uncertainty with courage, and to engage with life's challenges without losing our equilibrium. Detaching from outcomes and external opinions does not mean we become passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it sharpens our focus and strengthens our resolve. We strive for excellence in our actions, knowing that the effort itself is within our power, even if the result is not. This shift in mindset turns every challenge into an exercise in virtuous, every setback into an opportunity for growth, and every insult into a test of character. In the end, the dichotomy of control is a guide to living with clarity and purpose. It teaches us to discern where our influence begins and ends, freeing us from the futile pursuit of controlling the uncontrollable. By embracing this principle, we step into the world with confidence, secure in the knowledge that while we cannot dictate what happens to us, we can always choose how we respond. This is the essence of Stoic strength, the unwavering commitment to mastery over oneself in a world that remains ever uncertain. 6. Shifting focus to inner values. In a world consumed by appearances, recognition, and the pursuit of external validation, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. The opinions of others, material success, and social status can dominate our attention, leading us to measure our worth by standards we do not control. The Stoic response to this predicament is a radical shift in focus from the external to the internal, from superficial achievements to enduring inner values. This shift is not a rejection of the world, but a reordering of priorities. It begins with the realization that external things are fleeting and often beyond our influence, while our inner values, our integrity, courage, wisdom, and self-discipline are entirely within our control. Epictetus reminds us wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True wealth, in the Stoic sense, is found in the cultivation of our character, not in the accumulation of external goods or the approval of others. When we focus on inner values, we reclaim our sense of self-worth from the unstable foundation of external circumstances. Consider the person who derives their identity from their social status. They may feel confident when praised and successful, but the moment they face criticism or failure, their sense of self crumbles. Why? Because their worth is tied to factors outside their control. A Stoic, on the other hand, grounds their identity in their commitment to virtue. Success and failure may come and go, but their inner compass remains steady, guiding them through both triumph and adversity with the same calm resolve. Shifting focus to inner values also transforms how we respond to criticism. Instead of reacting defensively or taking it personally, we evaluate the critique through the lens of our values. If the criticism is valid and aligns with our pursuit of wisdom or self-improvement, we accept it with gratitude. If it is baseless or irrelevant, we dismiss it without losing our peace. In both cases, our focus remains on our inner development, not on the fluctuating judgments of others. This inward focus requires deliberate practice. We must regularly reflect on what we value most and ensure actions align with these principles. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself of the importance of virtue over external success. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This simple yet profound guidance keeps us anchored in our values, regardless of external pressures. By prioritizing inner values, we also strengthen our resilience. External circumstances can be unpredictable and often harsh, but our values are steadfast. They become our refuge in times of difficulty, reminding us that while we cannot control every situation, we can always control how we act within it. This focus on internal standards provides clarity and strength, enabling us to navigate life's challenges with composure and dignity. Moreover, living by inner values fosters genuine fulfillment. External rewards can bring temporary satisfaction, but they are often accompanied by anxiety as we fear losing them or not meeting expectations. Inner values, however, offer lasting contentment. When we act with integrity, pursue wisdom, and uphold courage, we experience a deep sense of purpose that external achievements cannot provide. This shift also impacts our relationships. When we value others for their character rather than their status or possessions, our connections become more meaningful. We engage with others from a place of authenticity and respect, rather than manipulation or superficiality. In turn, we attract relationships that are based on mutual understanding and shared values, rather than fleeting external factors. Ultimately, shifting focus to inner values is a practice of liberation. It frees us from the endless chase for approval, wealth, and recognition, allowing us to find peace within ourselves. By grounding our lives in what we can control, our character and virtues, we achieve a sense of freedom and fulfillment that external circumstances can neither grant nor take away. This is the Stoic path to true strength and serenity. A life guided not by the noise of the world, but by the unwavering light of our inner values. 7. Cultivating emotional mastery. One of the most profound challenges we face in life is mastering our emotions. When we take things personally, it is often because we allow our emotions to control us, rather than exercising control over them. Anger, frustration, hurt, and resentment arise not because of the events themselves, but because of how we interpret those events. In this lesson, we will explore how the Stoic philosophy empowers us to cultivate emotional mastery, so that we no longer succumb to the whims of our feelings, but respond with calm, clarity, and reasoned judgment. The Stoic approach to emotions is not one of suppression or denial. Stoicism does not advocate for a life devoid of emotion, but for a life in which our emotions do not dictate our actions. It teaches us that emotions, while natural, are not always rational. They are often reactions to the stories we tell ourselves about what is happening around us. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, asserts it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This simple truth reminds us that emotions are often the result of our own thoughts and interpretations. To cultivate emotional mastery, we must first understand that we are not helpless in the face of our emotions. Emotions are not uncontrollable forces, they are responses to the beliefs and judgments we hold about the world. For example, if someone criticizes us, we might feel angry or hurt. But why? Because we are interpreting their criticism as an attack on our worth. If, however, we choose to interpret the criticism as an opportunity for growth or as a reflection of the critic's perspective rather than our own, the emotional reaction may change. This shift in perspective, a hallmark of Stoic practice, allows us to regain control over our emotional state. A key component of emotional mastery is self-awareness. We must become attuned to our thoughts and recognize when they are giving rise to harmful emotions. When we feel a wave of anger or frustration, we must pause and ask ourselves, what is the story I am telling myself right now? Am I attaching meaning to this situation that is causing me distress? By questioning our initial emotional responses, we create space for reason to intervene and guide us toward a more balanced reaction. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminds himself of the importance of rationality in emotional matters. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This profound insight speaks to the Stoic understanding that our emotional state is shaped by our thoughts. If we can train ourselves to recognize negative or destructive thought patterns, we can interrupt them before they take root and grow into intense emotional reactions. Emotional mastery also requires the cultivation of virtues such as patience, self-discipline, and forgiveness. Patience allows us to weather moments of difficulty without being swept away by immediate emotional responses. Self-discipline helps us to maintain composure even when we feel provoked. Forgiveness frees us from the grip of anger and resentment, enabling us to let go of grudges and focus on our own peace. These virtues, when practiced consistently, build the foundation for emotional strength and resilience. Stoicism teaches that we must not be slaves to our emotions, but masters of them. This does not mean that we become indifferent or unfeeling. On the contrary, it means that we can experience emotions fully without allowing them to control us. We can feel anger without acting out in rage, sadness without succumbing to despair, and disappointment without losing our resolve. By exercising emotional mastery, we reclaim our ability to choose our responses regardless of the external circumstances. Another important aspect of emotional mastery is detachment. To be emotionally free, we must recognize that our emotions are often based on our attachment to things outside our control. We become upset when we lose something valuable, but why should we allow that loss to disturb our inner peace? By detaching from the things we cannot control, such as the actions of others, the outcomes of events, or the opinions people hold, we prevent them from having power over our emotional state. Detachment is not a denial of our feelings, but an acknowledgement that we cannot allow them to dictate our peace. Finally, emotional mastery is a continuous practice. It is not something we achieve once and for all, but something we must cultivate every day. Life will present countless opportunities to practice emotional control, moments of insult, disappointment, frustration, and challenge. Each of these moments is an invitation to choose how we respond, to choose virtue over vice, reason over impulse, calm over chaos. As we refine our emotional mastery, we find that we are less and less influenced by external events and more guided by our inner wisdom. In the end, cultivating emotional mastery is not about suppressing our emotions, but about transforming our relationship with them. It is about recognizing that while we cannot always control what we feel, we can always control how we respond. This is the power of Stoic practice: to be moved by reason, not by emotion, to act with purpose rather than reaction, and to maintain peace amidst the storm of life's challenges. 8. The power of perspective. In our daily lives, it is easy to become trapped by our limited perspective. We see events through the narrow lens of our own desires, fears, and attachments, and as a result, we often react impulsively, taking things personally and allowing ourselves to be shaken by the uncontrollable nature of the world around us. The Stoic, however, seeks to widen their perspective, to step back from immediate reactions, and to view life from a broader, more rational standpoint. In this lesson, we will explore how the power of perspective can help us overcome the habit of taking things personally, and how shifting our view can lead to greater peace, resilience, and wisdom. At the core of Stoic philosophy is the belief that the way we perceive the world shapes how we experience it. Our judgments about events, people, and circumstances are not inherent truths, but subjective interpretations. What one person views as an insult, another may see as a simple misunderstanding. What one person sees as a failure, another may view as an opportunity for growth. The Stoic encourages us to question our immediate reactions and to recognize that our perceptions are not always accurate or helpful. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations offers this profound insight: if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever harmed. This powerful statement reminds us that our perspective is not fixed; it can be shaped, refined, and corrected. The Stoic does not take offense at the possibility that their view might be flawed, but embraces the opportunity to see things more clearly. One of the most effective ways to shift our perspective is through the practice of cognitive reframing. This technique involves consciously changing the way we interpret a situation in order to change our emotional response. For example, when someone criticizes us, we can choose to view the criticism not as a personal attack, but as feedback, valuable information that can help us grow. By changing the story we tell ourselves about the situation, we can change how we feel and how we respond. This shift in perspective can prevent us from taking things personally and instead encourage us to approach the situation with calm and reason. Another powerful tool for shifting perspective is to ask ourselves, will this matter in a year, 5 years, or 10 years? This question helps to put the current moment into context and reminds us that most of the things we take personally are fleeting. The criticism of today, the failure of tomorrow, or the setback of next week, these will not define our lives in the long run. By expanding our perspective in time, we lessen the weight of temporary disappointments and realize that our peace should not be tied to transient events. Moreover, the Stoic teaches us to consider the views of others. Instead of assuming that someone's words or actions are a personal affront, we can take a step back and ask ourselves, what might they be going through? What is their perspective on this situation? When we understand that others act based on their own experiences, fears, and motivations, we are less likely to take their behavior personally. The more we practice empathy and seek to understand others, the more we can detach ourselves from unnecessary emotional reactions. The Stoic also cultivates perspective by recognizing the vastness of the universe. In the grand scheme of things, our individual concerns are but a small part of an immense and intricate web of life. When we take ourselves too seriously and magnify our own struggles, we lose sight of the bigger picture. By contemplating the vastness of the cosmos, the brevity of our lives, and the countless events happening beyond our control, we can put our own grievances into perspective. What seems like a personal slight may, in reality, be an insignificant moment in the grand flow of time. This perspective allows us to maintain our composure and to view setbacks with equanimity. Epictetus, in his wisdom, teaches that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This statement highlights the importance of choosing how we interpret and respond to life's challenges. When we encounter difficulty, we have the power to shape our experience by adjusting our perspective. Instead of focusing on how we have been wronged or inconvenienced, we can choose to focus on what we can learn from the situation, or how we can grow stronger in the face of adversity. This shift in perspective transforms challenges into opportunities and suffering into a catalyst for self-improvement. A Stoic perspective also includes the understanding that life is filled with uncertainty and impermanence. We cannot predict or control the future, and we will inevitably face hardship, loss, and disappointment. However, by accepting this as part of the human condition, we can learn to respond with resilience and grace. Instead of resisting what is, we embrace it as part of the natural order of things. This acceptance, rooted in perspective, helps us maintain peace and composure, no matter what life brings our way. Ultimately, the power of perspective lies in our ability to choose how we view the world. We are not helpless victims of our circumstances. We have the capacity to shape our experience through our thoughts, interpretations, and reactions. By widening our perspective, stepping back from immediate emotional reactions, and seeing things from a more rational and balanced viewpoint, we free ourselves from the grip of taking things personally. We become masters of our minds, resilient in the face of adversity, and unwavering in our pursuit of virtue. This is the Stoic way to view life with clarity, reason, and wisdom, and to let go of the unnecessary burdens of taking things personally. 9. The practice of self-reflection. One of the most powerful tools in the Stoic arsenal is the practice of self-reflection. It is through regular and deliberate self-examination that we develop greater self-awareness, strengthen our character, and refine our understanding of what is truly important in life. Without this practice, we risk drifting through life, reacting to events instead of responding thoughtfully, and allowing our emotions to control us instead of taking ownership of them. Self-reflection provides the means by which we can consistently align our actions with our deepest values, learn from our experiences, and grow toward wisdom. The Stoics encourage us to examine our thoughts, behaviors, and motivations on a daily basis. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflects on his own actions and attitudes, using these moments of introspection as opportunities for improvement. He writes, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This simple yet profound guidance urges us to turn our attention inward, asking not how others should behave, but how we ourselves can better embody the virtues we aspire to cultivate. Self-reflection begins with the question, how did I respond today? At the end of each day, a Stoic takes time to review their actions, thoughts, and emotions. Did they act in accordance with virtue? Did they allow external events to disturb their peace? Did they take things personally, or did they maintain their composure? By honestly answering these questions, we identify areas for improvement and celebrate the moments in which we acted wisely and virtuously. In his Enchiridion, Epictetus teaches that the goal of reflection is not to dwell on self-criticism, but to learn from our experiences and improve our future responses. He says, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." This reflects the Stoic idea that reflection is not simply about intellectual analysis, but about putting our philosophy into practice. Reflection helps us identify the disconnect between our values and our actions, enabling us to close that gap with intentional effort. It is through regular self-reflection that we begin to notice the patterns in our behavior. We become more aware of the triggers that cause us to take things personally or react emotionally. Perhaps we realize that we are particularly sensitive to criticism, or that we often take offense when our expectations are not met. By identifying these tendencies, we can take proactive steps to address them, cultivating emotional mastery and detaching ourselves from the need for external validation. Reflection also allows us to examine the stories we tell ourselves about the world. When we take things personally, it is often because we believe that something external, an insult, a failure, a rejection, reflects poorly on us as a person. In these moments, we must ask, is this story true? Is it helpful? The Stoic practice of self-reflection challenges us to examine the narratives we create and to discard those that are harmful, untrue, or unproductive. By doing so, we liberate ourselves from unnecessary suffering and align ourselves more closely with reality. Another important aspect of self-reflection is gratitude. While it is easy to focus on what is lacking or what has gone wrong, a Stoic reflects on the things they can be grateful for, whether it is the opportunity to learn, the strength to endure, or the chance to grow. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminds himself to be thankful for the people and circumstances that contribute to his growth, even when they are challenging. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By reframing obstacles as opportunities, the Stoic cultivates gratitude and resilience in the face of adversity. Self-reflection also strengthens our capacity for empathy. When we examine our interactions with others, we ask ourselves, did I act with kindness and understanding? Did I allow myself to take offense when it was unnecessary? By reflecting on our relationships, we develop a deeper understanding of the perspectives and needs of others, fostering compassion and improving our connections. This self-awareness in our dealings with others prevents us from being reactive and encourages us to respond with wisdom and respect, rather than taking things personally. In addition, regular self-reflection helps us to develop a clear sense of our priorities. By reflecting on our values and goals, we gain clarity on what truly matters and what we should focus on. When we are aligned with our deepest principles, we are less likely to be swayed by external pressures or superficial distractions. Self-reflection allows us to continually adjust our course, ensuring that we live a life of purpose and meaning, directed by our highest ideals rather than the shifting tides of external circumstances. This practice of self-examination is not confined to the end of the day. The Stoic seeks to be constantly vigilant, to observe their thoughts and actions in real time, and to make adjustments as necessary. When we are in the midst of an emotional reaction, we can pause and reflect. Why am I feeling this way? What can I learn from this moment? By practicing self-awareness in the present moment, we prevent ourselves from being swept away by impulses and remain anchored in reason. Over time, the practice of self-reflection deepens our wisdom. We become better at recognizing our own weaknesses and strengths, more adept at identifying the root causes of our reactions, and more committed to acting in alignment with our values. This ongoing process of introspection fosters continual growth, ensuring that we evolve into the people we aspire to be. Ultimately, self-reflection is a tool for transformation. It helps us confront the reality of who we are, learn from our mistakes, and cultivate the virtues that lead to a life of peace and fulfillment. It is through self-reflection that we can stop taking things personally, for it allows us to see clearly the source of our suffering and to make conscious, thoughtful choices about how we will respond. In the end, it is not the events of our lives that determine our happiness, but how we choose to view and react to them. And through the practice of self-reflection, we take full responsibility for shaping our inner world, regardless of what the outer world may bring. 10. The importance of detachment. Detachment is a central concept in Stoic philosophy, and one of the most powerful practices for overcoming the tendency to take things personally. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by external events, opinions, and circumstances, detachment offers us a pathway to inner peace and resilience. It teaches us to disengage from the things we cannot control, to release our attachment to outcomes, and to avoid being overly affected by the actions and judgments of others. In this lesson, we will explore the importance of detachment, how it can prevent us from taking things personally, and how it empowers us to live a life of wisdom and tranquility. At its core, detachment is about recognizing the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. The Stoics believe that we can only control our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else, the opinions of others, the behavior of people, the course of events, lies beyond our power. Therefore, when we take things personally, we are often attaching ourselves to things outside of our control. We allow the actions and opinions of others to dictate our emotional state, and we forget that true peace comes from within, not from external validation or approval. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, teaches that we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. This fundamental truth reveals that it is not the external event itself that causes us distress, but our attachment to it. When we detach ourselves from the belief that we must control or influence everything around us, we free ourselves from the anxiety, frustration, and anger that often arise when things do not go as planned. To practice detachment, we must first recognize that our attachment to outcomes is often rooted in our desires and fears. We desire success, approval, and praise, and we fear failure, rejection, and criticism. These attachments create a constant cycle of striving and struggling, where our peace depends on the approval of others and the fulfillment of our personal desires. Stoicism teaches us to recognize these attachments for what they are: temporary and ultimately unimportant. True contentment, the Stoics argue, comes from within, and it is not dependent on external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the power of detachment in his Meditations when he writes, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This wisdom points us to the realization that our thoughts and perceptions determine our emotional state, not the external world. When we detach from the need for external validation or control over outcomes, we begin to cultivate a sense of inner peace that is independent of circumstances. We learn to find contentment in the present moment rather than in the pursuit of things outside our control. Detachment does not mean indifference or apathy. It does not mean that we stop caring about the things and people we love or abandon our ambitions. Rather, it means that we release our attachment to the outcome and accept that the only thing we can control is our response. For example, we may work hard toward a goal, but if we are detached from the result, we are not devastated if things do not unfold as we hope. Instead, we accept the outcome with grace, knowing that it is beyond our control. This perspective frees us from the emotional turmoil that often accompanies disappointment and failure, and it allows us to move forward with greater wisdom and resilience. In relationships, detachment allows us to maintain healthy boundaries and avoid taking things personally when others behave in ways we do not understand or appreciate. When someone criticizes us or acts in a way that feels hurtful, it is easy to internalize their behavior and view it as a personal attack. But detachment teaches us to view others' actions in a broader context. Perhaps their behavior is a reflection of their own struggles, insecurities, or past experiences, and not an indication of our worth. By detaching from the need to be validated or approved by others, we free ourselves from the grip of their judgments. We can love and care for others without being dependent on their approval, and we can maintain our peace even in the face of criticism or rejection.